All right, yesterday, if you remember, we learned about the two levels of Mashiach. That Mashiach is going to be a king and he's going to be a half king. And the Talmud doesn't use the word king, it uses Kesar to show us that the Mashiach is going to be. Kesar means unusual. Kesar was born, what's in Hebrew they call it Yotze Dofen, something totally unusual. Yeah. You see, we go to this. Let's see how much there is left to go. Give me a moment over. Yeah. It's not that much. Good. Okay, good. We can do it. Here we go. Okay, and we said that this corresponds to two levels of the Mashiach. One is going to be Mashiach is going to be a king, a Kesar. It's going to be totally unusual, totally unique. The miracles that he's going to do and the amazing things that are going to happen by means of Mashiach. He'll bring the temple from heaven. He'll do incredible, gather all the Jews together. There's going to be tremendous miracles that is going to be by means of the Mashiach. That's called the king. He's going to be a Kesar. But that's going to be only temporary. Temporary. He doesn't have to reveal all these miracles. That's Mashiach. And then afterwards, he's going to be a half king. He's going to do half miracles. What does it mean? Normal. And that'll be constant. That'll be constant. So the Mashiach himself in the beginning will be Kesar, namely totally out of nature, in nature. And afterwards, he's going to be Palgi Kesar, a half Kesar in the world, like King David was, but without fighting battles. David. Then that'll be the level of, okay. What can we learn from this? We said before. And this, by the way, corresponds to the two Mashiach meals that we make. One meal we make the last day of Passover, because Passover is going out of nature. And we make that's the idea of the Kesar. Total, Mashiach will do total amazing miracles. Then there's the Palgi Kesar. That's the Malava Molka we make every week, every Motzi Shabbos. That shows about bringing godliness into the world in a normal way. And that the world will act in just a normal, healthy, godly way. Okay, but everything depends on the Mashiach. Limud Ohora, what can we learn from this? A state in Sforim, it says in books. Oh, here we go. It says in books. Yeah, it says in books. As Yeder, one second, let me make this bigger. Here we go. Okay, a little bit bigger. Here we go. It says in books, he brings over here the book. What is it? A book called Me'orenayim. Morenayim. Who wrote the book Me'orenayim? I can't remember. I think from Chernobyl, I think. Okay, I have to look at it. Okay. It says in books, in Sforim, as Yeder Yid, that every Jew, Haten Sicha Nitzus, has a spark, a spark, a point from the Mashiach. Every Jew. That's the inner point of what we call the godly soul. I think we've said this before, at least I've said it before. Every Jew in the world wants to stay in Egypt. Jews do not want to leave Egypt. Jews want their comfort zone. Jews don't want to have anything to do with the Torah, with the commandments. They want to be normal like everybody else. We see that's the whole Torah, the history of the Jews with Moses, every Jew. But Moses doesn't want that. Moses wants the Jews to go out of Egypt. He wants the Jews to stay out of Egypt. He wants the Jews to go into the land of Israel to receive the Torah, Moses. And every Jew has a little tiny Moses inside of him that's willing to listen to the Moses outside. And the same thing with Mashiach. Every Jew wants to stay in exile. They don't want anything to do with exile. We'll learn Torah. We'll go to heaven. We'll stay in the exile. What do we have to go out of this? Who says there's even an exile? We're learning the Torah. We're religious Jews. We got it set up, right? That's okay. Maybe there's a little problem over here, a little problem, but they don't want this massive change that's going to happen when Mashiach comes. Jews just, they want to be regular people. What's wrong with that, right? Have a political power or something, right? As long as says no, Mashiach is going to make massive changes for the good in the world, and the Jewish people don't want this. They want to be like normal, but Mashiach wants it, and every Jew has a little point of Mashiach inside of him, and this little point of Mashiach is what makes a Jew crazy. There's one of the parts of the one of the places where Mashiach is most clearly described in the Torah, and what he's going to do, and it says, is the curses of Bilam. It says that Bilam was chosen by this king Balak to destroy the Jews, and he had done it before to other nations. He was really good at it. He knew exactly how to curse. So he was chosen to curse the Jewish people, and he had all these curses all figured out. He was the Bilam was the master of curses. He says he had the same levels of power that Moses did. Moses was afraid of him. And amazingly, and the Jews deserved the curses. The Jews deserved it, right? They had done bad things, and he made all these, Bilam made all these sacrifices, and all of a sudden, he was not able to do it. He couldn't do it. Bilam said, he admitted, he said, listen, I can give curses, I can do, but I'm not God. I don't create the world, but I know when God gets mad. And I can get that second, I can get in, right? And then right, when he's obsessed, like a person gets a little cut, then they can get an infection. But for some reason, even though the Jews had all these cuts and they had all these sins, God didn't get mad. So he transformed all these curses to blessings. And these blessings are the clearest descriptions in the Torah of what Mashiach is going to be. And one of them is, it says, Dorach Kochav Yaakov. There will come a star from Jacob. One explanation is that this is talking about the Mashiach. Mashiach is going to be the star. A second explanation is that this is talking about every Jew. I can't destroy the Jews because every Jew is like a star. What does it mean? This person, the Mashiach, does it mean the little point in every single Jew? It says, according to what we said, that when there's two different explanations in the Torah, there must be some connection between them. Is moving, so it's understood as jeder id, that every single Jew is verbunden with Mashiach, is connected with Mashiach. Because hat in sich, every Jew has inside of himself, herself, a nitzutz, a spark from Mashiach. And this little spark makes us crazy. That we really believe that this world is infinitely good, and it depends on us to make it that way. To reveal some untold treasure that there is in every single human being, in every single moment, infinitely higher and more beautiful than going to heaven or these different levels. We believe that's what Mashiach is. But we have to go out of ourselves. We have to be crazy. According to this, is Maturitz, it's explained, was Yeder Ir, which every single Jew says, it's a very surprising thing. When we take out the Torah on the holidays, so we say a prayer. And part of that prayer is, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the world, right? Before we read the Torah on the Yom Tov, on holiday, and it says, Ribono Shel Olam, Creator, Yitkayem Banu, may it be in us, Mikra, the sentence that says, V'nocha alav ruach Hashem, that will rest upon him the Spirit of God. Now, it doesn't have to have the word Banu. It could have said, may it be fulfilled, the sentence that says, that will rest upon him the Spirit of God, namely the Mashiach. But it doesn't say that. It says, may it be in us. Was thus means, may Mashiach Tzikenu, that the Mashiach will be in us, should be waken up in each and every one of us. The Avodas Adam, in the service of man, what does it mean? Gate Mashiach. Mashiach is talking about this level, which is called Yechida Shebenefesh. It's called the inner point, the essence of the soul, above spiritual, above their koach, which is translated normal, the koach of Mesirat Nefesh. The ability for a person to totally devote himself to the truth, herself to the truth. Totally devote himself to the truth and totally ignore anything that contradicts the truth. I have an urge to do X. God wants me to do Y. I'm going to do Y, but I don't want to do Y. I'm going to want to do Y. I'm going to want to do what God wants. What about what I want? I'll ignore it. That's called Mesirut Nefesh. I give my soul away. If you learn the Torah in order to go to heaven or to be a great person or to be a holy person, so that's called enhancing your soul. Enhancing your soul, right? Hagdalat Nefesh, you raise your soul, your soul. And the essence of Judaism is to give your soul away, not to think about going to heaven or any of this, just to do the truth because it's the truth. Yesh Lomar, we can say, and that's what it means to listen to the Mashiach. That's what it means listening to the Mashiach. How do you know who to listen to? How do you know what to do? That's why in every generation, there's a person of Mashiach. The Rambam is the criteria. And that person you're supposed to listen to. But Yesh Lomar, we can say, as is verstandig, so it's understood, is this whole idea, Virkt Nachamol Begiloi, Nachmer, this has an effect even more in a revealed way in every Jew when we eat this meal of the Mashiach meal in the last day of Passover. We just finished that. That's what the Rebbe is talking about. When we eat that meal in the last day of Passover, and if you didn't eat matzah on the last day of Passover, don't worry, because you're going to have next Passover to do it. And also this revelation was in the world, and it's all the time, but it's just a little bit more on the last meal of Passover that the Hasidim made, that the Baal Shem Tov used to make, and now we make it. Vense is when it is shining, this ray and shining of the Mashiach, the last day of Passover. Und Bayom Shabbos, and also on the day of Shabbos, which comes in a revealed way in the Suda of David Malka Mashiach, and also in Shabbat, when there is revealed this meal of David Malka after Shabbat, and especially in Parsha Shmini, but that's going to be this week's Torah portion. Then when the Rebbe was saying this speech in 1988, it was a Hakel year. Shanas Tisma. Hakel was once every 7 years the king used to gather all the Jewish people to Jerusalem, and he would read parts from the Torah. It was called Hakel, the king, and that whole year was called a Hakel year, and that's the way it was with the Rebbe. By us, it was last year, 2 years ago, it was Hakel. Therefore, it's understood the teaching regarding to us, how it is that every Jew has to go out, has to oisnusim, has to utilize the revelation of the Mashiach, which is every Motzi Shabbos, and especially in Parsha Shmini. You have to look in everything how it's hinting at that it's giving us power to be crazy for Mashiach. Is that Itztakar Zman now, especially in our time, is revealing this power of total self-devotion. It's called self-sacrifice, if you want to, self-devotion in all the kochos and nefesh and all the powers of your soul. To turn to do your work, what you should do, noch im letzter Tag, even in the last moments of exile, in doing the Torah and the commandments. In other words, any second Mashiach is supposed to come. It says that when Mashiach comes that we're going to long for the days of the exile, because then there was a test, it was a trial, it was a battle. And Mashiach coming in some ways will be like going to a home for the aged. There's no more battles anymore. Everything is done for you. The battle when Mashiach comes will be to go higher and higher, but it won't be a battle in the battlefield. You talk to a lot of people that they were in the war, World War II or whatever, and true, it was terrible, and they hated it. They hated every moment of it. But the reason really that they hated it was because they saw their friends get killed and they thought the bad things of this. But the fact that they went through this and that they went through the jungles and they went through this is a tremendous accomplishment. It's a tremendous accomplishment, and they're proud of that accomplishment. They wouldn't want to do it again. Like the previous Rebbe said, he was put into prison in Russia, sentenced to death, and it was terrible. He was there for, almost a month. He said, if you would give me all the money in the world, I wouldn't go back for one moment of that prison. But if you would give me all the money in the world, I wouldn't relinquish one moment of the experience that I had. So, in other words, use this last moments of exile to do the Torah and the commandments, kolel, including also fixing your place in the world, not just in Torah and commandments, but also your next door neighbors, the people you meet, the people you encounter in business, even in the weekdays. Kolel oich, and this includes also vi geret that we have spoken previously, durach them by means of this, that we use your birthday. The Rebbe made a big thing of birthdays, oif hosafa in Torah and the commandments. Now, everybody that's listening to this, and everybody in the world, pretty much, there's no exceptions. One of the few things that there's no exceptions in the world is that everyone in the world was born. Huh? Everyone in the world has a day that they were born. They have a mother, they have a father that didn't have any children, and all of a sudden they had a child, right? Just a child just popped out, it just came out. You have a day that you were born. The day that you were born is a special day. Before that day, you weren't here, and all of a sudden you are here. You're born. So it says really the child existed in the womb of the mother before that. And if the child would have been born a few days earlier, 4 days later, it wouldn't have been any big deal, right? I mean, what was this? It says, no, it's not. When a person is born, then he comes in encounter with the world. And when you come in contact with the world, God gives extra powers in order to deal with the world properly. So your birthday is not just the birth of your soul or even your godly soul. It's the birth of the essence of your soul, the ability to fix up the world. That's what your birthday is. You came into the world. And that's a special day for everybody because every human being in the world is unique and no human being in the world is dispensable. That's why it's a very, very important thing. The more people there are in the world, the more blessing there is in the world. Not like all these negative, whatever it is, economists and say there's going to be a Holocaust, there's going to be a cataclysm. The cataclysm, there's not enough food, there's not enough air, there's not enough land, there's not enough this. What there is there's not enough heart. People's hearts are small, so they can't bear other people. But when people's hearts are big enough, then they'll want as many people in the world as possible. It'll be a pleasure, right? It'll be a pleasure. How many Indians are there in India? How many Chinese are there in China? I think altogether it's like 4 billion or something like that. Well, there should be 100 billion. But each one is unique. Each person is unique, especially every Jew. Especially every Jew. That's your birthday. When you were born, you're a unique example of God. Every human being is made in God's image, was put into the world. Was durach them, by means of this, we can bring more holiness not only into your birthday, but also in every day of the year and of your life. Un oich in mashpia and in mashpia sein oif the andere, not only to fix yourself up, but also to try to have a positive effect on other Jews around which are around you in everything we said before. Kolel, including oich also, and especially things of which are special in that time. For instance, making sure that every Jewish child, date them Zumer in a Machane Kayetz. Every Jew should go into, every Jewish child should not be roaming around in the streets in the summer break, but there should be, they they call it summer camps for the kids. Can bakum, and he can get an education, a kosher Torah Kodesh. In Chabad, they've been doing it how long? I think it began with the previous Rebbe also. They made summer camps for kids and non-religious kids. They took kids from all over the place, non-religious kids. And there was interesting things, and they took them on boats, and they went to the zoo, and there was what's called color wars, whatever they called it, the blues against the reds, against the this. Who can learn more Torah? Who can find the hidden treasure? There were hundreds, if not thousands, of children that discovered their Jewish identity through these things. And wandering around the streets, you become similar to like dogs and cats that wander around the streets. But also we should have an effect also on the non-Jews around us, that they should, whenever you encounter a Jew, to try to bring the conversation around to what's called the 7 Noahide Commandments, which the 7 Noahide Commandments are basically common sense things, right? They're basically common sense, listen to your conscience things. Don't kill, don't steal, don't be licentious, honor your family, honor people's money, honor people's lives. When also me'ein v'hachana, so then the preparation of fixing up the world to serve God. That's called tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is fixing the world to serve God. We say it 3 times every day at least. The takanas olam b'malchus Shaddai. As hafoch, like it says in what is it, Sephania, I will transform all of the nations of the world, Safa Barura, a clear language. Like the Rebbe said, that's the big novelty of Mashiach that's never been done before, right? There's been revealed God in the world. There's been all the Jews living in Israel. There's been all the Jews doing the Torah, the command. That's all these things have been. One thing there's never been is that the whole entire world, every human being believes only in the Creator that's creating them. There's never been such a thing. That's what Mashiach is going to accomplish, that all mankind will feel and serve the Almighty Creator. This will be by means of the Mashiach. The Alapulos, that's going to be the big Mashiach, that's going to be the Kesar, that's going to be the big miracle that the Mashiach is going to do. The Kesar. It's going to be such a miraculous thing that all immediately will all transform. All transform. Listen, the world, especially the Muslims and the Christians, and if I'm not mistaken, every religion is waiting for some sort of a Messiah. Every religion there is in the world, it's called a religion. Maybe the atheists, they try not to believe in anything, but also it says every religion is waiting for some sort of a big figure that's going to come along and direct the world, save the world, help the world, put the world on the tracks, etc. And that's what Mashiach is going to do. Somehow or other, he's going to convince the whole world that this is what they've been waiting for. What about all the atheists? What about all the woke people and all these other weirdos and these other stuff? What about them? That's going to be a big miracle. Somehow or other, they're going to say, whoa, we made a mistake, that there's a king, there was a creator, the Torah is true, the world is not the way it's supposed to be. We have to fix it up by believing in God, doing the commandments. How it's going to be, I don't know, but it's going to be, for sure. Was the all these things, that's what it says, the Mashiach is going to be a Kesar. He's going to, in Gentile language, a king for the Gentiles as well. Megillah Nitzutz Mashiach, this will be the spark of the Mashiach, which, when the spark of the Mashiach is revealed in every single Jew, which is inside of everyone. Ved Nachmer, there will even be more. So Elin, hurrying up, the revelation from the Yechida, the general person who's going to be the Mashiach Tzidkenu, and he is going to awaken this spark in everyone. The core of Mamash should be soon, really, really, really. Okay. We did that. That's not bad. There we go.